now streaming on Paramount Plus. Critics are calling A Quiet Place Part 2 phenomenal. It's the movie of the summer. A Quiet Place Part 2, rated PG-13, now streaming on Paramount Plus.
Reveille, donks.
Look at us now, tip to tip. This is our life. This is our passion. That's the spirit we bring to this show.
I'm Luke Thomas.
I'm Brian Campbell.
This is Morning Combat. Back like a bad habit on the 2nd of August, 2021. It's your favorite podcast. It's the only podcast that you really need. We can just be honest with you. It's Morning Combat. Hello, everyone. I am merely one half of your hosting duo. I come to you live from the capital of Los Estados Unidos here in Washington, D.C. My name is Luke Thomas, and I'm joined by royalty on the right side of your screen. I believe it's the right side of your screen. He is, he's Connecticut's finest because he's its king. It's Brian Campbell, who also has, I guess, AIDS. I don't know. What's going on, BC? How are you? You living?
Wuhan got you all in check, Luke. We're there. I hope everyone out there is healthy and good, Luke. Back up, because it's on LTMK and me, the B to the C. Luke, I am fired up, not just because a star was born over the weekend at Bellator 263, but it's Monday, Luke. Let's fire the people up. Let's let them realize that even though it may look dark and damp outside, metaphorically, the sun will shine, and MK's there for you. We're ready to lift your spirits, talk some combat, and continue to brainwash you MK Ultra style and let you know that we're your friends for life. We're the only two people you need, all right?
That's it. We're your two dads.
My
wasn't
two
that a
dads,
show in the 80s, My Two Dads?
Great show. Stacey Keenan, Greg Evigan, Paul Reiser. Great show, Luke.
Okay, so that's us for today.
You remember that theme song, Luke? You remember that theme song? You can count on me. Where you go, you can count on me. We should add that. We should make that the MK song, right?
Someone's got to pay for that, so probably going to happen anytime soon.
Okay.
I will say this. I want to tell everyone who is joining us, thumbs up, hit subscribe. We gave you guys a post-Bellator 263 show on Saturday, but there's still a whole lot more to get to. Of course, is where you can follow us and everything else. So like and subscribe, follow us on social, the whole 9 yards. I don't know what you're doing, but if you haven't gotten Showtime yet, now's no time like the present. You missed a big one, but we do have good news. First, you can go to Showtime.com, get a 30-day free trial. Second, I believe there's a replay, if I'm not mistaken, BC, tonight at 10 p.m. in the East on Showtime Extreme. Did I get that right?
Absolutely. Not only recap the biggest fight in Bellator history, certainly, and it lived up to it in spectacular fashion, but a fight card full of Dagestanis taking over, Luke. Well, more on that to come in this show, but a very fun. Look, you got to say this, Luke. We're not getting into the analysis now, but you got to say this. This was Bellator's stage. Bellator didn't disappoint. They brought it.
No,
it was a great night.
They did it.
Listen,
we hammer Bellator when they suck, but when they're good, you got to give them credit, and we definitely are going to give them credit. That show from the prelims on up delivered in a big way. So there's that. Okay, we also have merch. MorningCombat.store for mugs and hats and beanies and drugs and probably CBD and probably, I don't know, condoms and weightlifting gloves and everything else on there. You can go to MorningCombat.store for everything you might need. And
Look, would you green light some paraphernalia?
What does that mean?
Maybe an MK bong, anything, I
mean, if Showtime wants to sell it and it would do numbers, I don't give a damn what we put out there. I don't.
An MK defibrillator. I mean, whatever the people need, Luke.
That's right. And then last but not least, I think we need questions for some mailbag segments that we're going to be doing. So as always, we ask you to scam the system by going to Apple Podcasts, leaving us a review, and then in the review, asking us a question. It could be on a little more the sporting side. It can be a little more on the playful side if you like. But you got to go and scam it. Give us a 5-star review, and then put a question there.
And Luke, we were told that if you have already done that during previous MK bonus mailbag shows, all you have to go into is edit the previous post you had, and it will reappear at the top of the feed. So your question will get read. Luke and I, to repeat, do have some vacation days coming up, but we want to fill your hole, so to speak, by pre-recording some fun bonus episodes. So please join us on that journey right there.
There you have it. I think that is all of the preamble that we have. So without a moment's notice, let's
Luke,
just get...
Manish wants us to remind the people to vote on all these podcast awards.
Oh, right. Right. How could I forget? So there you can see the URL. So first for the World MMA Awards, the 13th annual, you see the URL there. You can go to worldmmaawards.com/nominees. You can go and vote for MK for best MMA programming alongside programs that are just a lot bigger than what we do. So if we win, it would be something of a, the little engine that could kind of thing. And I think we have the other one, too.
I want to see you get positive about this process, though, Luke. Don't try to paint us as the number 16 seed. Oh, can tiny Princeton backdoor its way to beating Georgetown in the 89 first? No, this ain't it, Luke, okay? We're on this stage because we belong, okay? So as far as I'm concerned,
it's more
the
like
Contender
fourth
Series
seed, like Maryland.
Can eat a big fat dick, right? Embedded, eat a big fat dick. DC and Helwani, dick, okay? All right, you know where I'm going with this, okay?
You want everyone to eat dick. All right. podcastawards.com/app/sign up for best sports podcast as well as best male hosted podcast. You can go do that too. So either one of those would be great. We appreciate it. And if we win, trust me, our bosses will be very happy. All right? All right. So with that out of the way, BC, let's get now to the topics at hand. We didn't get to UFC on Saturday. We will get to that. But let's start with what was the biggest and frankly the most important MMA over the weekend. And I would argue pretty unequivocally that's going to be with Bellator. Bellator 263 took place over the weekend, and this was one of the better Bellator shows in a long time, to be quite frank with you. In fact, I said this on Twitter, BC, before we get to the opening topic, I don't want to say that like every Strikeforce show was the grand moment and they all felt so fun and they were always filled with the elite talent and it always delivered. There were a lot of duds that Strikeforce put out along the way, but you had a bit of a moment in time where you had a second promotion that could still deliver high-level MMA at a reasonably consistent basis. Strikeforce felt like Bellator 263. True or false?
Yeah, it did. It did, Luke. So here's an interesting deal. Like, this could have been, Luke, we still could have got the same outcome, meaning AJ McKee proved that he is the real deal, and he wins the featherweight tournament, the $1 million, the world title, all that stuff we talk about, pound for pound number one, beats the best fighter in the history of Bellator. He could have done it, Luke, a 5-round boring decision, and we would have come out of there going, okay, Bellator had its big moment. We learned what we were supposed to learn. Let's move on and see what's next. Instead, AJ McKee, after round, hit a triple-double and hit an absolute monster home run for the promotion. And the reason why that is important, Luke, I mean, there's a lot of reasons. Let's not overlook the fact that he's a grassroots-developed star and that Pitbull, who made his Bellator debut in his 13th fight, was the face of the franchise. There's all that stuff. But timing is everything. And this was a night where UFC happened to put out one of its, weaker cards of the calendar year, a main event people weren't kicking doors in to see, fights falling off left and right due to COVID. So Bellator had the night, they had the trending, they had the people's attention for a moment just like this. AJ McKee fulfilling the prophecy that he put out there, but doing it in perfect GIF form, perfect internet highlight reel form. Yes, Luke, this felt like Strikeforce at the very best, because Strikeforce at the very best was legitimate competition to the UFC. And while this card for Bellator doesn't put it in that category where we're like, oh, let's, watch out UFC the next 2 weeks. Bellator's going to, break your ratings. No, it's not that. But Bellator needed to keep going in the right direction. They've got the tournament formats on lockdown and they're killing them. Now they're building grassroots stars. They're signing the right free agents and they're developing the right younger fighters, particularly from that region in Dagestan, where this night just all came together. It felt big. Having fans back in the arena at the Forum was very important. You had the hometown boy making good here in AJ. When Compton and Long Beach get together, Luke, you know they are trouble. And it just came together to feel like the major leagues. This was a big win for Bellator, one that they can build on, one that they can continue to build AJ McKee into the star that he looks to be. And really, like you said, did it feel a lot like Strikeforce? For the first time in a while, it really did, Luke. And I think that's a big win for Scott Coker and company.
All right, no doubt about it. So let's talk about the fight itself here, BC. First question about everything. Biggest takeaway from the fight, from the monster win. What's your biggest takeaway from the win and how it all happened?
that AJ McKee wasn't just, phenomenal on the certain level, right? 8-second knockout of Georgie Karkani and 71-second submission of Darian Caldwell. But that when he stepped up to the very top, he kept the same energy. He went for the same flashy, risky at times moves, and he pulled it off, Luke, because he is a dynamic force. He's huge for this weight class. He's young, athletic, strong, confident. All of these adjectives that we did in the long form previews that we talked about to build to this fight. There was a hesitation, even in both of us, Luke. Even though I picked McKee to win, I picked him by decision. There was a hesitation to believe he could do exactly what he did to everyone else on this build to 17-0 against somebody like Pitbull. So I think the fact, Luke, that he was able to go out there and kind of look like Michael Venom Page, right? Go out there and look like a video game fighter at this level. Dude, that was special. That's my biggest takeaway. That this isn't just a great Bellator fighter. This is a great fighter, in period. So, Luke, when you talk about the global rankings at 145, if that's even a thing, you have to try to consider AJ McKee at the very top. And in that mental math that we're forced to do when fighters cannot fight each other, try to figure out where the hell does this place him among the best featherweights in the world. He's 18-0. He's got Bellator records for most finishes, most consecutive wins. He's 2 away from most wins in company history. I mean, this was a massive statement, Luke, that if you're Bellator and you want to compete against everyone else in the world, you got to have must-see worldwide players who aren't just attractions because of carnival or celebrity nature, because they just might be the best in the world. They have that now in AJ McKee. That's big, Luke. He is who he said he was. That's big, Luke. Admitted. It's fucking big, Luke.
It's big, yeah. You don't have to get me to twist my arm to say I completely agree. I mean, it's so, usually when a good night happens or even a great night, there usually is some kind of thing you could point to, like, well, you got this, but you didn't get that. You missed a little bit of this part, but you got that. Yeah, you make a series of examinations, and there's trade-offs. You'll take something good that went right for something that was missing. So, for example, everything could have gone well, but let's say that the hometown crowd didn't show up, or the fight wasn't in his hometown crowd, or there'll be something kind of missing there. But here, it's like all the boxes got ticked. Let's see. Violent finish, almost 2 of them. Check. Authoritative win, check. Swag, check. Press conference that, kind of set the tone, check. End of a tournament, check. In his hometown, had him eat out of the palm of his hand by the time that was done. Like, it was as close to flawless sports as you're going to get. I mean, that's really what you're looking at here. Sometimes they say truth can be stranger than fiction. I wouldn't call this exactly strange, BC, but what I would say is if you were writing a script, you would have written in some kind of adversity, perhaps. You would have written in, some other element to make it seem real. This was just one-way traffic, essentially, the wind at his back, basically since September of 2019, if we can be honest about it, and he just kept going. It's kind of funny. I was thinking about this, BC. If the tournament, which got started technically in 2019, if everything had played out normally, would he have still won? And the answer is probably yes. I mean, we'll never know. But yeah, I think at this point, it's fair to conclude that he could have won it. But the fact that it was delayed, I mean, part of the reason why this was so overwhelming, BC, is I almost get the sense that, like, he was overdue. This was supposed to happen last year. It wouldn't have happened in 2019. But it was supposed to happen in 2020, kind of like midway through, as a matter of fact. And yet, everything got delayed with COVID and blah, blah, blah. So by the time it finally arrived, he didn't want to wait anymore. He didn't feel the need to, like, make it anything other than what it was. It was clinical, It was fast, it was thorough, and it was, again, it was about as perfect as sport endings get.
And you know what you need?
AJ McKee is now a clear player for pound, certainly among the top featherweights in the world, and is a budding star in this business.
And when you talk about the perfection of the night for AJ, for Bellator, by extension, Showtime, whatever, however deep you want to go, or just MMA in general, you need the right dance partner. Luke, had Emmanuel Sanchez beaten Pitbull in the semifinals, which their rematch of their first fight, which was close down to the final round, it could have happened, right? If AJ goes out there and does that to Emmanuel Sanchez, great fighter Emmanuel Sanchez, not saying anything wrong, but we wouldn't have had this level of validation. The fact that he did it against Pitbull, who, as you said, correctly in the buildup, was just as impressive as McKee, if not more, given the level of competition he had to face on his side of the bracket. Not to mention, as the champion, you get no favors in this tournament. You got to fight 5-round bangers one after another. The fact that he did it against Pitbull, who everyone worldwide at this point is woke to and realizes this is a legitimate all-time great fighter. It's not a guy, one of those rare guys, Luke, who's never walked through the doors to the octagon, yet that hasn't held back his reputation and his legitimacy. And this was a full validation because he did it to Pitbull and because he did it in McGregor-Aldo-like fashion, which I thought was very apt. I don't know if you were the first one to bring that up, but right when this ending of this fight happened, it had a lot of UFC 194 overtones to it. Absolutely. It really felt like that. What a spectacular performance when the stage was the brightest. But Luke, before we continue to, bust out that champagne and if you're going to come on, bro. And these guys, they were coming. Can we just talk about this stoppage? Because when we did the reaction show, I joined you mid-show after finishing up on CBS Sports HQ. I really hadn't, zaprudered the footage. Upon watching it another 49 times, I've come to realize, Luke, that I'm not so secure anymore in the idea that it was a perfect stoppage. It's not a bad stoppage. The limp right arm of Pitbull that's damning evidence. But I have to ask you a critical question here, Luke. I think McKee did a great job in selling the finish to referee Mike Beltran, but, verbally, look, this guy's out, call it. But do you think someone of Pitbull's history, toughness, accreditation? Look, is that a word?
Yeah, accreditation. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll take accreditation. I'm a college dropout here. Did he deserve better, Luke? Straight up.
Yes, I'm wondering if the colleges you went to had accreditation. I will say this. I think that it's not a perfect stoppage, and I, too, kind of afterwards was like, he was still a little bit with it. But the two things for me that make it forgivable, well, I would say three. One, Pitbull didn't really complain afterwards. I mean, he kind of did in the initial moment when he was coming to, but not really. So that's the first. Second thing I'd say is you notice the limp arm. If you're hand fighting and then your hand goes limp, that by itself is not necessarily the reason to do it. You want to check and whatnot, and there was some of that, but it's a bad sign. And then the last one was he didn't drop to the mat directly like Lyoto Machida did when John Jones had him. No, it wasn't that. But if you notice, he lets go a beat or two passes before he's even able to look up, because I don't think he was out, but he was clearly about a second or two away from going that direction, probably, and he had to get time for literally the blood to go back into his brain so he could resume cognitive activity. I'm okay with it. I don't think it's the cleanest stoppage I've ever seen, but I think it's justified under the circumstances. And referee Mike Beltran, we don't really complain about him very often on this show, if ever. I can't remember the last time I thought he had a bad stoppage. I think this one, remember, you got to grade referees not so much A, B, C, D, F, but pass, fail. And this, to me, is a pass. So this one gets a grade of passing
he's on
more
top
than it
of
does
it
the other
there.
one.
Luke, he's
you
on
see how
top
he takes a second?
of it?
He kind of takes a second to get his legs under him like that?
But to be honest, though, McKee did have, not purposely, just the way the fight played out, McKee did have Pitbull's face shielded from the referee's view. So that's why I think the limp right hand was sort of that key character. Yes, stop the fight. I see it. But it may not have been perfect. Pitbull still could have been there. I think given his history, if you could have done it over, he deserved a little more. Even if that means McKee was just going to deliver more punishment to finish it, I think Pitbull deserved better. But I want to ask you this question. In pro wrestling, Luke, they don't always love clean finishes of one guy beating another. Why? Because it gives the image to the fans who pay that this guy is definitively better than the guy he just beat. So sometimes they do things, Luke, the term is to protect someone's heat. They'll have a guy kick out on the 3 count, right? He'll lose, but it shows you that he was fighting until the final second. Or they'll have the bad guy pull the tights. So you're like, okay, the good guy lost, but bad guy was cheating. Do you think Pitbull, because of the somewhat controversial nature of this and because the fight only lasted 2 minutes, retains a great deal of heat and credibility from this? He's still the lightweight champion under Bellator. It's a little fluky, right? I mean, I don't know if people are going to argue that. Be like, how do you say that's fluky? I mean, McKee dominantly, defiantly won, but we really didn't get to see, just like Aldo McGregor, what the fight really was going to look like. Do you think Pitbull retains a great level of the legitimacy he brought in because of that?
I mean, in terms of like rematches, which we'll get to, like, you know, can they do a 155? I don't know. But I mean, yes, they could. I don't know if they will. But I think the thing for me is, you know, Jose had to go out there and win some hard fights afterwards to get back what was lost a little bit, you know, and even then, I don't know that all of it is fully get backable. I mean, this is a big moment, man. And, you know, it didn't really, to say he didn't show up is like not true, because I think he was well trained, but like he just got run over. He got run over by the moment. And so that will, again, people always want to like forget about bad parts of the resume and just stack up the wins and say, well, what does the accumulative weight of the wins mean? And you can do that partly as an exercise, but the full resume is both the good and the bad. And this bad is, you know, it will damage his brand. But the thing is, it's like, you know, I think you had said this on Saturday night, and I concluded the same, which was, okay, this was I mean, everything about this was amazing, but we still don't know what it looks like if AJ McKee is tired from somebody just wrestling him to the ground for 4 rounds and avoiding submissions. We don't know what it's like if he gets, you know, poked in the eye and can't see, but the fight continues, or he gets hurt with a really bad body shot, or separates his rib, or breaks his hand, or whatever. What kind of magic are you able to like provide when those kinds of bad things happen? We've seen Pitbull overcome some of those things time to time, which isn't to say that AJ can't. It's just there are still a lot of unknowns. So what I think is going to happen here is AJ's got a series of difficult challenges in front of him. We'll see how he does. Pitbull's got some work to do to get back his brand. Now, the one difference between him and Jose Aldo, BC, is he is still the 155-pound champ. I want to talk about that in just a second, but let me ask a different question back to you. Everything about AJ McKee's success is attributed to him, but he's got a partner, and that partner has been and is now only ever been Bellator. Can they keep him long term? I know it's folks don't want to have that conversation, but I don't think it's out of bounds. I think it's fair. Maybe they can. Maybe it's even the likeliest possibility. But we're allowed to have this conversation. Do you think they can do it?
Well, I think the better question is, how do they do it, okay? And you look, here's one thing I want to just put out there, okay? Anytime I've asked Scott Coker, or I've heard him asked about competing directly with the UFC, it's the same thing in pro wrestling when AEW or New Japan gets asked about competing with WWE. Everybody's got the same answer of, oh, no, we're not competing against them. We're just doing our own thing and staying in our lane. And Luke, to me, that's bullshit, right? Because when you go into this game to be the best and everybody else is comparing you against them, so you are competing. So they got something big on their hands in Bellator with AJ McKee. Now you gotta feed him. You gotta feed him a few different things. You gotta feed him money first and foremost. You gotta feed him crossover big opportunities. And I thought from that degree, Scott Coker in the post-fight press conference had largely the right answers, Luke. What Scott Coker talked about is he wants to get him out to the masses, meaning AJ McKee, so he wants to put him on big CBS in fights, which, Luke, Strikeforce is the comparison here. When Strikeforce put Fedor and before that Elite XC put Kimbo, I mean, the masses, different time with TV ratings before streaming and all that, but the masses showed up on CBS. The masses did, and it worked. I like that idea from Coker. Let's put him on CBS. This is the right guy to do that. Coker even said, let's consider pay-per-view. So that's good, but I think the key thing is what AJ said, Luke, because look, he was asked in the post-fight press conference a lot about, you know, how do you think you stack up against the best featherweights in the world? And inevitably, you're talking about Max Holloway, Brian Ortega, and, you know, and Volkanovski. So, like, that's just what it is, right? AJ gave the kind of answer that basically teased to, like, he wants to change the game, he said. And what he's meaning is he wants to face these guys in sort of big cross-promotional things that we just don't see in today's MMA, right? We got enough of those issues in boxing where the biggest promoters and rival networks barely ever come together unless it's like Mayweather-Pacquiao or Wilder-Fury. Luke, it sounds like AJ is basically saying, I'm willing to... Now, this is me paraphrasing. This is me putting my own 2 cents into his words. But it sounded to me like he was saying, you know, long-term, I'm going to want to fight these guys, and I want to change the format. You know, and that's going to mean, Luke, some type of cross-promotional thing. Strikeforce did it in the past with M1 to be able to get Fedor. UFC famously said, hey, Vadummy, you know, go pound sand, brother. We don't do that here. Luke, do you think it's as simple as this? You can pay him all you want. You can put him on pay-per-view. You can put him on big CBS. You can get big ratings. You can make this kid a star. You can get him endorsements. All that stuff will help keep him happy. keep looking out for good opponents you can crop up and build up to face him. But will Scott have to find a way to do the impossible, to make the long-term super fight against other promotions to actually keep him and keep him happy, Luke?
Well, they might keep him, but not because they're going to change the game. There is no changing the game, at least not by their own actions. What do I mean by that? Listen, part of the reason why the UFC is in such an advantageous position, everyone's like, oh, if you don't like what UFC does, just go do your own. But the argument is total nonsense because there's a finite amount of elite fighters in the world, and if they have access to the majority of them, let's say 80% or so, give or take, and they got them under onerous contracts where they're very, very hard to get out of. It takes time and whatever, there's a lot of different sort of elements to it. It makes any kind of rival promotion not just difficult, but technically impossible. You can do other things. You can change the rule set. You can get your own collection of elite talent. You can do what you do with AJ McKee, start them young, build them up through all the various stages until they get to the most elite side. And again, that's a unique advantage Bellator has. But no, AJ might be right in the sense that by the time he wants some big fights, maybe the Ali Act gets passed. Maybe there's a change in the industry in that sense, but no one's going to make UFC do something that they've never ever shown interest in doing, and frankly, in their minds anyway, would be bad for business. The one thing that I will say that I find very interesting is, short of the Ali Act getting passed or whatever, is listen, you got to think about something here. There's a new generation of fighters, and I still think push comes to shove, they don't unionize on their own. But I do think that these guys who are 20-something, 24, 25, I think AJ is 26, I think they see a couple things, BC. I think they see the evidence about fighter pay, and they realize that there probably could be a lot more coming their way under different circumstances. And if you think about who Jake Paul is not AJ's peer as a fighter, not even close. But they are, 24 or so, 25 versus 26. One's obviously a bigger star than the other. But you see a guy like Jake Paul out there making a point continuously about pay, continuously about fighter rights. I think a guy like AJ McKee probably absorbs. He's not dumb at all. I think he absorbs a lot of these lessons. I think he might try and box either the Paul brother or something else. He might try clever workarounds and whatnot. And I think that, look, they kept Michael Chandler until 34 years of age. So the answer was, could Bellator keep Michael Chandler? Well, technically, no, BC, but they got the very best out of him, basically. They got many, many years, many, many great fights. By the time he went to the UFC, I'm not saying it was immaterial, but it wasn't like they were getting robbed, per se. You might find something similar, one of those different paths for AJ McKee.
It's interesting, and Scott Coker did say, exactly what you said, that, maybe down the road boxing those Paul brothers is something that could be in the cards. AJ said he did want to box. Heck, he said he wanted to box Mayweather. Not something I see happening, but he did say it. Luke, how big, and I'm not talking commercially, I'm talking size and weight class. AJ's huge for this featherweight division. He said in the post-fight press conference that unless there's a giant fight, he actually might be done at 145, and we already know his want to go up to 155 and run it back with Pitbull and try to become a champ. But how big do you think he can go in weight and still be effective, given that he does have this very long frame?
Sorry, my alarm's going off because I didn't sleep last night, and I don't know what the hell's happening. I think he can easily go to 155. I don't think the 150... Also, got to remember, the 155 division isn't nearly as good as the 140. Like, the 145 division is... Of 135, 145, and 155. So let's say, I guess they had 125 too. No, they didn't. They didn't at first. So I guess of old WEC weights, right? 135 to 145 and 155. Obviously, they had more than that. But at a time, they just had those three. 145 is the best, far and away. Not even close. So I think he could go, and honestly, whether it's against Patricio or his brother or, frankly, anybody else, I like AJ's chances to win that title up there too, man. I really think he can go... And I don't know if he can maintain injury-free life with enough frequency to defend both titles, BC. But you're asking, does this guy have double champ potential? I'm going to say easily.
I actually wasn't asking that. I almost felt that was a given. Not a given that he would win at that weight class, but a given that he could compete and potentially be a favorite, and be there and compete at 55. It's not that much larger than 45. He's already big for the weight class. I'm talking about welterweight long-term, Luke. Do you think that... Do you think he has the body I think he's
No.
got the skill set and the speed. Do you think he has the body long term for the right fight for that?
No, but I will say this. Another dude, again, he's 26. By the time he's 34, right? What's MMA going to look like? I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility you could get a 165-pound weight class. And then you could push all the guys who are true welterweights up to 175. And is there some possibility there? Now, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves with this because the guy just won the featherweight crown. But to your point, like, yes, there are some ways. I think MMA, by the time AJ is done, is going to look a lot different than when he got in it. I really do. Whether that's part of it or not, that is something we should take seriously. But at 155, yeah, I think he's going to do extremely well. Even with the caveat of we still don't know a lot about some of his limits. We know a lot about his upside. We don't know a lot about some of his downside.
And look, that's why I think the McGregor-Aldo comparison is so apt, because we still didn't know what that fight would have looked like if it went more than 13 seconds. At that point, we still didn't know what Conor would have done against a wrestler in a full camp. I said coming into this fight, we and AJ doesn't know how great AJ can be. Now, he disagreed with that when I asked it to his face, but I still think that's where it's at, Luke. We don't know how great he can be. Is he just a dynamic, flashy striker who's landing the hits one after another? Or does he have all those same intangibles that'll be needed that you mentioned? The ability to come back on the scorecards, to fight through damage. It's going to be a fun ride finding that out.
All right, so point number 2, we kind of alluded to it here a little bit, BC, but let's play matchmaker if we can. All right, so Pitbull still has a championship belt at 155, although obviously not at 145 anymore. You have a new champion, AJ McKee, at 145. There were some questions about where they go from here. So for point number 2, BC, simple kind of question. If you are Bellator, how do you matchmake? Now, AJ McKee, it's interesting in terms of the possibilities, but hello, Patricio's not done. He still holds a belt. He still might want to get his belt back. What do you do with these guys?
I think you have to build on the momentum of this fight. I think you have to play up as a positive the fact that the fight was so short, the fact that just maybe the stoppage was disputable to, again, retain heat for Pitbull. He still, was the face of the franchise coming in with all those accolades. You have to match these guys up against each other within the next year. Does it have to be next? Not necessarily. You could convince AJ to defend his title. And by the way, Luke, someone like Mads Burnell looked, I thought, great in that co-main event, a very close fight against Emmanuel Sanchez, a former 2-time title contender, where he's on a 7-fight win streak. I wouldn't hate that fight. Does that mean you want to give Pitbull a comeback fight? There's a lot of things you can do here, but if Pitbull's intentions are to hold and defend that lightweight title and not, let's say, give it up to give his brother, who's the number 1 contender, a chance, then it just makes too much sense that you would run them back against each other within the next year, and you would do it for that lightweight title. Giving AJ a chance to carry the 2 belts on his shoulders, I think, is something that you talk about keeping a young star happy. I think that's he's talked about that forever. He claims long before Conor was champ, I was the guy saying it. I mean, look, to AJ's credit, Luke, he's been saying a lot of things for a long time. It's just he hadn't had the resume and credibility for a lot of people to listen. So, yes, I think the rematch at lightweight is the fight to make. For all we know, again, not dissimilar to, let's say, Joanna Jędrzejczyk against Rose Namajunas. Part 1 was a smashing. Part 2, 5-round classic title fight. For all we know, this rematch, Luke, could be that same exact thing. And can you imagine if Pitbull should win that rematch? Then you've got a trilogy, maybe even more on your hands for these two. So I would not go veer anywhere away from getting these two back together.
Also, you have some real potential about this guy's ability to kingmake. If let's say you went the route of Pitbull versus AJ McKee 2, up at 155. Let's say AJ wins. Tougher fight, but whatever. Still gets his hand raised. I mean, you still have to confront a future, BC. And I was going to say, I'll save most of this for my odds and ends. But, dude, Usman Nurmagomedov is a 155er. You know what I mean? And he is coming down the pike like a fucking freight train. And, you've already got Khabib cornering him, as you pointed out on Saturday night, wearing the Bellator swag and everything else, whether it's intentional or not. That dude's coming, and there's a lot of other guys right behind him. So it's like you have a chance of potentially having AJ and a Nurmagomedov fight. I mean, that you're sort of the royal family, so to speak, of Russian MMA versus the American I don't know, equivalent exactly, but, father-son kind of dynamic, although Usman is obviously a cousin. In any case, there's some ways you could do that. I actually think you want to keep him at 145. If I'm Coker, you could do the immediate rematch, but then he has to defend those, and what happens at 145, I don't know. But, whatever. If you stay at 155, BC, here's the only downside. You got to confront the fact that you've got Gadzi Rabadanov and Usman Nurmagomedov and Kasan Magomedsharipov with their sights set on that. And I have a feeling that one of them three is going to win it.
Do you think young Aaron Pico ever faces AJ McKee for the Bellator featherweight title? That'd be a marketable fight.
Super marketable, but he needs still some time and development. Everyone develops at different rates in different ways. AJ got the proper development, the proper slower push along the way. They shoved fucking Aaron Pico to the front of the line, and obviously he stumbled as a consequence. But I feel like he's really rounding out his skill set. I think he's getting a lot better, so we'll see.
You do have to say, Luke, you and I don't love the idea that in MMA, everyone's end game is still to go over to boxing, usually to sell their soul in a fight they can't win. You and I talk about that all the time. That's a broken system. Sometimes it has to do with the fighter pay model, especially in the UFC, but it is what it is. But if you're AJ, you could be in a far worse place than be with Showtime, which has the Bellator contract, has Showtime Championship Boxing, and also is in the celebrity crossover pay-per-view boxing game. So, look, I mean, do I want to see him against a Paul brother? Not necessarily, but, there is potential fun things you can do, just like we thought was going to happen with MVP. Remember, MVP took that boxing pro one off, and he looked pretty good, and we're like, oh, maybe long-term they do something there. So there is things you can do to get creative. I'm just trying to think long-term, marketable-wise, who are the names? That's why I brought out welterweight. What if Dylan Dennis can become something, Luke? Is that a fight you can make one day? I'm trying to think in the Bellator roster creatively, who are we not thinking of? But, look, this is one fight, one victory. You got to keep winning. So we'll see what happens. Let's take it one step at a time.
Yeah, they got Magomedsharipov listed at featherweight. I'm told he can go up to 155 if he wants to. But yeah, listen, I think they're probably going to have Usman Nurmagomedov maybe fight Goichi Yamauchi, who both had nice big wins on this card, because they would match up really well. They both have to strike it out, and if it goes to the ground, they both have different skill sets there. That could be a lot of fun. But, dude, that guy is not far. One of them two, and most likely Usman, is not far from a title shot at 155. And I think, you want to be careful about, is AJ competitive against them? I think he'd be very competitive against them. But the question is, what do you want to do with that long term? And you just got him in this major celebratory moment. Do you want to risk having that run over for a guy who's an incredible fighter, but maybe not a dynamo on the mic and everything else? Like, at Pitbull, at a bare minimum, was poking the bear with Snoop Dogg. Usman Nurmagomedov ain't that guy. So, something to think about. All right, let's get to some UFC if we can, BC. Point number 3. Man, this was hard to watch. I was kind of watching out of the corner of my eye when the Bellator fights were going on, so I revisited it later. Jeez, it just felt like he was fighting underwater, BC. Uriah Hall was soundly defeated by Sean Strickland. Now, it went the full distance. Don't misunderstand it. And there were definite moments where you could tell Uriah Hall was trying to push back. He was trying to will himself in there. He didn't quit, and again, there were pronounced moments of trying to put it back on Sean Strickland, but really it was not a lot. It was mostly Sean Strickland backing him up, landing heavy volume, occasionally getting takedowns, working from turtle, beating him up. BC, is the story of the fight how well Sean Strickland performed, or is the story of the fight how poorly Hall performed?
This is about Sean Strickland, Luke. In the end, look, this was Uriah Hall's 37th birthday, and, he wasn't coming in as damaged goods. He'd won 4 in a row. Questionable maybe on the last 2 of the overall value against injured veterans or old veterans. But look, Hall was trying to get one final stand here, and Strickland beats the brakes off him. Luke, this is the food chain, the life cycle of combat sports, veterans giving way to the youth on the way up. Strickland came out there, and his boxing was phenomenal, but look, it was that power jab. Uriah Hall was squinting very early from the power of just every time he got touched. I think the story here is Sean Strickland, again, a guy who, Luke, we don't talk about him, right? I'd seen him fight before, absolutely, but it wasn't a guy that was on the forefront of my mind when I'm talking at the middleweight division, who's got next long-term. Wake up, this is the guy. Hey, BC, Sean Strickland's the guy who's coming, he's coming 5 in a row. And Luke, he kind of made this look easy. His stand-up was great. When he went to the ground, there was really an energy, an electric ability of his ground game. The transitions, the fever pitch at which he went for finishes. I was thoroughly impressed across the board at his 5-round stamina, at his toughness. To your point, Hall attempted to try to rally back and empty out what was left, and he gutted it through, but, his eyes were banged up, Luke, and I think the fighting spirit in the end just kind of got knocked out of him, whatever was left. This is what happens at the end of a career, and, he had a good run there recently, but I think it's over. Sean Strickland showed you that he's ready for the smoke in the top 10, and this was as impressive as you can do it on this type of stage, and then you throw in some of those psychotic sound bites, Luke, that he threw out there, not just after the fight when he basically said, hey, Ngannou would knock me out, but I'll do it for the payday right now if you want to. Or what he said in the press conference before the fight, I'm sick like that. I'm looking to kill a man in the cage. I got no shame about it. I mean, you watch more of this guy's interviews, Luke, you're like, I don't know if he's got a full deck up there, but he's got a full game, it seems. Good ass win, okay? This ain't about Uriah Hall at the end of the day, Luke.
Yeah, no, this is a guy who you just can't make the mistake. Early on in someone's UFC run, you get an impression about them like, oh, yeah, they're pretty good, but whatever. And, they're not going to really be the guy that contends for a title. And I don't know exactly how far Sean Strickland will take it. I guess time will tell. But he had a record in this fight. I think most significant strikes landed in a middleweight fight, most attempted. I think he's got the longest winning streak in this division at this point. Like, the dude is doing something pretty impressive at this point, and it needs to be acknowledged. We said it, I think, on Friday. I'm not going to attribute it strictly to this, but I will say, training with Khamzat Chimaev in the way that Sean Strickland had described it, which is if you don't bring a ton of internal fortitude to the sparring, yes, technical sophistication matters, but you really got to have your head on a swivel against this guy, and you got to bring a certain level of intensity. I think that with the overall development of Sean Strickland's game, it's always pretty good. It's gotten much, much better. Now he's doing real stuff. Plus, dude, he just had a certain attitude in this fight. Now, there were, again, a little bit later, 4th, 5th round, there wasn't quite the same intestinal fortitude. But by that point, it was a little bit too little too late, right, BC? Because part of going out there and then hammering someone with a jab, there's lots of reasons why you might do that. But one of them will be, I'm setting a tone, okay? This is how this fight is going to be all night as long as it lasts. I'm going to set a tone right now. It reminded me, like, there were times where I've had really tough workouts, and like within the first 10 minutes, you knew, shit, man, this is going to be one of those days where I'm going to probably, exhaustion puke and whatnot, and you think to yourself, fuck, but you just got to get through it. If you do enough of those, it changes you as a person, and you become much more hardened to the difficulties that these kinds of things throw at you. And so it looks to me like Sean Strickland has made technical maturation a part of his journey, fair enough. But he's made competitive maturation in ways that have made him, how good he was before, it's taken it up another notch. And yes, he says shit about smoking meth and trailers and how he would love to kill a person, and he's a little bit out there, fair enough. But
he's a lot of it out there.
When you take someone who's very good with at least to start, an indomitable spirit, and you put those two together against anyone who's not there to match that right away, you're going to fight out of a deficit for 25 minutes, and that's more or less what happened to you.
I thought it was interesting because the first 2 minutes of that fight, Michael Bisping on commentary basically said what we were all thinking coming in. You can't stand for a long time at that mid-range against somebody like Uriah Hall. He'll make you pay. He never really did, Luke, and I think it was the power of that jab. I think it was just the constant pressure with just enough movement, where Strickland was never an easy target to be hit. And anytime it looked like Hall was going to turn it on a bit, specifically in the tail end of that 4th round, it's like Strickland met that energy and just put a little bit more on top of it and snuffed it out right away. And look, this was very impressive, Luke. We've seen guys show flashes. And, and this is a tough level. The Uriah Hall level is tough. But we've seen guys show flashes, and then you put them in a 5-round environment, and, maybe they don't look as strong in the final 2 rounds. I thought this was absolutely thorough, and he was still going for the finish in the final minute of round 5, meaning Strickland. So, put the psychopath in there against everyone else, Luke. Let's see what happens. He's an interesting player.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So what would you like to see him fight next? Do you have did a matchup stand out to you about where he could go?
he didn't hate the idea of a Kevin Holland fight, Luke. I want to know if you hate that idea. That would be high-paced between two guys who don't give an F. That could be wild. Would that tell you, though, enough about, like, we just learned what he is against the Uriah Hall level, a guy ranked 8th coming in, 4-fight win streak, decorated history. Is Holland a step back in your eyes at this point?
He is. He's ranked 14th, although I agree it would be fun. Another one you could do would be Kelvin Gastelum, Darren Till, Edmund Shabazian. These are kind of the people around the space that he's in. The Shabazian one's kind of interesting because, yes, Sean Strickland can mix it up. He can go to the ground and he can do ground and pound for sure. But he puts pressure standing, and I wonder how a guy like Shabazian would deal with that. That'd be kind of interesting. Maybe that's a little bit too much too soon, but the Gastelum fight, the Darren Till fight, the only thing I would not necessarily say he bought himself with this win was like, oh, let's give him someone in the top 5. I still feel like that 6, 7 to 10 range, one more of those to really see. And then if that goes well, then yes, no doubt about it.
If you're UFC and they don't seem to turn away from giving people the microphone or the spotlight if they're crazy, do you think they play up his craziness, Luke, or just let it play out how it's supposed to?
No, I think that's just who he is. Yeah, it used to be. I remember when Frank Mir said he wanted to have the first death in the octagon when he fought Brock Lesnar, and he lost. There's some debate about this, but soon thereafter, his commentary gig was gone from WEC, and the UFC was very, very worried about it. But now people are just kind of taking it for what it is, which is just, sort of insane talk. But I don't think they're amplifying it. I think that's just that dude can't talk without that kind of thing happening. And then the video with him slapping or Orlando Sanchez or getting slapped or whatever it was. He's a wild man. He's a total wild man. But
I now would like to get him on the show, Luke. I want to find out But we'll match crazy and see who's left standing. I kind of feel like it'll be him.
So there were more announcements over the weekend, BC, but there were 2 that stood out that I wanted to talk about for today's show on point number 4. First of them, well, I'll just say both of them. On the UFC side, Michael Chandler versus Justin Gaethje was announced, and on the Bellator side, Vadim Nemkov, your ranking Bellator light heavyweight champion, taking on Anthony Rumble Johnson. Okay, I'll just throw it to you, BC. Your reaction to these bouts being official and now scheduled.
Well, let's separate them, Luke. First of all, that's the Chandler Gaethje is about as sexy a fight as you can make in this entire sport. I mean, you tweeted it out. It's just obvious. This is like fight of the year waiting to happen. Full-on savagery, a very important fight in the lightweight standings. And the fact that they're going to put it in Madison Square Garden, as the reports look like, Luke, with that, what was the main event that they had? They had considered Usman Covington too.
Colby and Usman too, yeah.
I mean, that card, which, first of all, I love, with the exception of the Cormier Derek Lewis card, which had some fights fall out last minute. We didn't end up getting Poirier and Nate like we wanted. They have properly loaded up those MSG cards and kept that as a big, tent pole, as Uncle Scott would say every year, as they should, by the way, especially how long it took to get there. But Luke, I mean, that fight is going to be freaking bananas. I can't even see it going past 1 round, Luke. I cannot friggin' wait to see that. Dude, you could almost put that as great a fight as Usman Covington 2 is. The hardcore fans wouldn't blink an eye if suddenly Gaethje Chandler was your main event. That is great shit. Thank you for booking that, UFC. Give me that.
I mean, people were disagreeing with me. They're like, oh, that fight might last a round or go 7 minutes. I'm like, well, first of all, you would then get round of the year. Second of all, there have been many fights that were just a round or a round and a half that ended up qualifying and even winning, well, depending on who's saying it, fight of the year. Like, that's in no way disqualifying to me that it's a little bit shorter. And yes, if it goes a minute or 2 because someone gets viciously KO'd, maybe not in that sense. But if it ends up going a round or a round and a half, I don't know why that would make it something that wouldn't be listed, at least on the short list for fight of the year. But you're talking about, I mean, understand what this bout is between Chandler and Gaethje. You're talking about 2 guys who are generationally some of the most important action fighters of our time here, right? Justin Gaethje easily fits that bill. Michael Chandler does as well. And what's notable, BC, going back to our previous conversation, these were guys who were kind of orbiting on the outside of the UFC, and they're able to meet by coming together there. I think that's part of what the UFC's appeal is. It's like, if you really want to fight the best, what they're going to say is, we can bring the talent here, so come here if that's what you want to do. Something to keep in mind. But to your point, it's impossible for that one, short of injury or some kind of unfortunate circumstance influencing it. Just a fight itself. It's impossible that will be bad.
And then look at where it leads us. I'd love the loser of that fight to fight Tony Ferguson. I'd love the winner to fight the winner of Poirier and Oliveira. I was
just about to say, there's a million different ways you can go with that. And if Gaethje gets a win, by the way, with no more Khabib there, Gaethje versus Poirier 2 is not going to look like Gaethje versus Poirier 1. I have a strong feeling. So there's a lot of different things you could do.
That gets me legitimately. I am rock hard with emotion about where the top of the lightweight division is going right now in just terms of like hammer versus hammer, arm and hammer, Luke. I cannot wait for this. But switching gears to the Bellator fight announcement, Luke, I don't think it's just that fight. Look, this is a big night for Bellator. October 16th on Showtime in Phoenix. The next step in the light heavyweight World Grand Prix. Main event, Vadim Nemkov versus Rumble Johnson. Co-main event, heavyweight champ Ryan Bader versus Corey Anderson. And they obviously have a long history, know each other very well. Luke, this is, if you want to build momentum for Bellator coming off of this big night at 263, this is the right card. I know it's a couple months away, but dude, Rumble versus Nemkov for the title, tournament or not, is appointment viewing. That is going to be some great theater because Nemkov is so much more a complete fighter at this point, and Rumble just got touched up by Jose Augusto of all people, yet can end a fight at any freaking time and still looks to be as dangerous as shit. I cannot freaking wait for that fight.
Yeah.
Give me that.
I'm not here to say that Bader versus Anderson is some kind of throwaway fight. It's not. But it's not in the same action vein as Chandler Gaethje, or even, I would argue, I guess we'll have to see, but I guess it doesn't, on paper, it doesn't seem like it would deliver in the way that Nemkov versus Johnson might. We've been seeing in the praises, again, say the things, when a promoter tries to lie to you and say that their bad things are good, you got to call them out. But when they say that their good things are good and they're right, you got to back them up. Dude, Vadim Nemkov is the real deal Holyfield. Now, I don't know if he wins this fight, but I guarantee there's a good chance of it. Number one. Number two, if he does win it, it might be via stoppage. This guy is as good as any top 5 light heavyweight on earth, and maybe the very best one. He is a hammer. And Anthony Johnson, you rightly put it, couple of issues with that first fight, but in the end, the big power showed up, and he dropped Jose Augusto like a bad habit. And here he is, just giving Ryan Bader no space to breathe whatsoever. That fight is amazing. Amazing.
The first 7 minutes of that fight, Nemkov Rumble, are going to be incredible because if Nemkov takes Anthony Johnson into the deeper edge, he's going to gas him out. He's got a motor, Nemkov. He's fantastic on the ground. He's a great striker. But in that first 7 minutes, Luke, Rumble can take your lunch and your credit card and your world title. He can knock your ass out. That's going to be great. Give me that. Give me that shit, Luke. Please. Okay?
It's very, very good. Early, I give you the right to change your prediction over time. Do you have an early sense about either one of those fights?
Yeah, look, the smart pick will be Nemkov based on the ease in which he did that to Bader, right, who is reformed and in a very good spot in his career. He should be able to beat Rumble Johnson. But even though Rumble showed us some holes in that comeback from a long layoff due to retirement, he's in great shape. He's still going to be, he's going to have a shot here, Luke, okay? He's not washed is what I'm saying.
Fair enough. All right, so point number 5, last but not least, there are a bunch of fights this weekend coming up, including, but not limited to, UFC, I should say, 265 BC. Okay, in your main event, you got Derek Lewis taking on Cyril Gane, but up and down the card, what it looks like to me is, obviously with the departure of Amanda Nunes' fight against Juliana Pena, in the sense that there was at least 2 title fights on the card, it's lackluster in the sense that there's nothing really as a sales angle for pay-per-view. However, if it was a free fight night card, we'd be singing its praises for that. So in that spirit, BC, what fight are you most looking forward to at a UFC 265?
There's about 3 or 4 hardcore specials on this card. They're very good fights, and they would fill out any strong pay-per-view card to get you excited. And that co-main event, which has now been bumped up due to Mandy falling off, is Jose Aldo, Pedro Munoz. Look, that's a great fight. It's an important fight in the bantamweight title standings, but that fight's going to be an absolute banger, Luke. I can't wait to see it. Jose rebounded very nicely against Marlon Vera after those high-profile losses. And, I've said it before, I'll say it again, Luke. I love this older version of Jose, one weight class down, which I'm still shocked that he's able to make this weight and look that good. He's a headhunter, man. I mean, he can finish a fight at any time. He's not as thorough as he was in his featherweight title days. You know, he's not committing to the leg strikes as much. But he is an absolute, as you would say, and we're abusing the term, hammer in there. And Pedro Munoz historically puts on exciting fights, and he's a tough out. And, you know, I'd like this fight even if they were both old and washed, but it still matters in the deepest division in the sport, which was, we have now officially appointed bantamweight just that I can't wait to see this fight.
No doubt about it. I'm going to go with, you could go that one, Chiesa versus Vicente Luque. That one, the winner of that is probably going to be close to a title shot-ish. Obviously, Tisha Torres, Angela Hill should be a lot of fun, but the one I've got my eye on is the main event of the prelims, because I know they're having a hard time getting guys to fight him. Rafael Fiziev taking on Bobby Green. Boy, that is a hell of a contest. Fiziev is one of these guys out of, he's technically, he is Azerbaijani, but he was out of Tiger Muay Thai. And he was the one that did the huge lean, like what you call it, like Stylebender does when the kicks come, and just, you know, this incredible Matrix-like display of agility and balance. He's a phenomenal striker, and I can tell you they've had a hard time matchmaking him. Bobby Green is the kind of guy who like just doesn't give a fuck. He can strike, he can wrestle. Now sometimes he wins when he should have not. Maybe sometimes he loses when he should not have. He's a little bit all over the place, loose cannon-ish, but he is very talented, and when he keeps his focus right, I think he's as good as anyone in the top 15 of that division. This is a fun fight. Fiziev, if you're the better technician, and Fiziev probably believes that he is, this should be a very winnable fight. But Green has a way of making things complicated for those kinds of folks. It's a great test for, frankly, both guys, but for Fiziev, who is looking to make a mark Fiziev in UFC.
Looks legit, so I can't wait to see this fight. I'm even more excited, by the way, about that Song Yadong Casey Kenny bantamweight fight, which opens the pay-per-view card. That's a fantastic one, Luke. I did want to ask you one question, storyline-wise, about this main event. Should we make a decision now, you and I, as, you know, curmudgeon-y, crusty, when we should be MMA journalists who have rightfully sort of panned the interim title being at stake here for commercial reasons only? Are we completely not allowing ourselves to actually look at how good this fight could potentially be and how it's going to answer a lot of questions in this division? I mean, Cyril Gane and Derek Lewis is a hell of a fight, but up to this point, Luke, every time I hear it or see it, I'm just sort of dismissive, like, fucking A, right? We got an interim title on there. It's like a scarlet letter to me, Luke. Should I just get over that and get really excited about this fight?
That's what the promoter wants you to do. It's up to you. I mean, I would say that there is a chance that it could be boring. It's possible that Gane could stick and move and never really put Lewis away. I tend to think that Gane's body work, we'll talk about this on Friday, I tend to think his body work will make a difference over time, and it won't necessarily go the full distance. Of course, we'll have to see. Obviously, Lewis has blinding power, so he lands one of those and forget about it. Listen, the fight is probably fine. It's an interesting test for Derek Lewis. It's an interesting test for Cyril Gane, too, given his potential upside. At the same time, it's just not the one that should be happening. This is not a fight that the promoter should be making, especially not for a title anyway. He wanted to make it, that'd be one thing, but for a title, certainly I don't think that's appropriate. You know, the real question here is, where is Francis Ngannou? Shouldn't he be, not on this date per se, but shouldn't any kind of title implication be reserved for his return at a normal schedule? Like, what the promoter is basically doing is, listen, I'm going to let the passage of time kind of wash over everyone, and I'll probably give you a fight that could even be decent, if not even outright good, so that you'll forget about it. I don't want to, like, penalize Derek Lewis, and I want to penalize Cyril Gane. They're just trying to live their lives the best way they know how, but kind of forgetting about all the baggage is exactly what the promoter wants you to do, so they can keep doing this in the future. I would caution against that.
Yeah, caution. Luke, I have to lament, my girl Karolina Kowalkiewicz is on here coming off 4 straight defeats of a winnable fight against Jessica Penne, who also,
yes,
could need a win here. But it's tough to see that original, class of the tough season. I don't even remember if Karolina was in that tough season, but that original strawweight class, right? The original fighters that filled out the title fights. And Karolina, let's not forget, pushed Joanna deep in that absolute 5-round war in which Joanna may have won, but she was the one heading to the hospital, and Kowalkiewicz was the one doing smiley interviews afterwards. She's in a tough spot here at 35. Needs a win badly. It's certainly not the same fighter she once was. It's tough to see an original division of fun names start to age out. We're seeing that now. It is what it is, Luke. It's the life cycle of the sport. But
it's winnable for either of those two ladies, Kovalkiewicz or Penne. But it's kind of like it's a little life raftish in terms of what it gets you. Okay, so that is it for our top 5, BC. So it is time for us to not ask each other questions so much as it is for the viewers to ask us. It's time for DMs from Diggity Dogs.
Yeah. Yeehaw.
As I drink my gross concoction. All right. Here we go. From O Sol Daco. I don't know how the fuck you pronounce this. Thoughts on the post-fight interviews from McKee and Pitbull. Well, Pitbull, I think, only spoke to the media afterwards. I don't think they interviewed him in the cage. Did they? They did. I skipped it.
No, they didn't.
But they interviewed AJ as well. What did you think about the stuff they had to say after the fight?
I watched the Pitbull sat down for about 5 minutes, and he did say that he had more fight left in him and thought that the fight shouldn't have been stopped. He didn't overly protest it, which I thought was respectable. He said, "Look, I'll be back from it. I'm unlike other fighters. Every fighter says they'll be back from a big loss, but I actually will be. I'll be better than this." And Luke, his history has shown that, boy, does Pitbull improve from defeats and figure out, what he needs to fix. Although you do have to question in this matchup, there's a big size differential between these two. So it's always going to be an uphill battle against somebody like AJ McKee. But, I thought he fielded it well. I think one specific reporter asked, because he had his son next to him, about teaching his son about the lessons of defeat. And I thought Pitbull fielded that well. He was respectful. He was the champion we expected him to be, Luke. He didn't come out here and talk junk or play up the questionable stoppage too much. So that is what that is, Luke. He played it well.
Yeah, I was thinking about Eric Albarracin. If they really hated that stoppage, I feel like he would have texted me 50,000 times over the weekend, and he didn't. So
he would have sent you so many drunken videos with those weird glasses. Yeah,
100%. All right, from Dylan J. Moran, AJ McKee versus Alex Volk and Max versus Pitbull. Who comes out on top for each of those two matchups, in your opinion? By the way, AJ McKee saying a fight with Max Holloway is his dream. See, I got to tell you, I definitely like Volkanovski to beat McKee. I just think at this stage of the game, he's a little bit too tough to beat. Pitbull's 34 against Holloway's jab and reach. It's an interesting one. What do you think?
Yeah, AJ had said Holloway was always his dream fight, and those styles against each other would be absolutely incredible. Although it's easy to say that you would like Volkanovski's chances of diffusing what Pitbull does great. They'd be a lot closer in size, Luke, than some of these other matchups. That could be an absolute banger because your boy Alex can throw too. So that could be the
better matchup to me would be McKee Holloway and then Volkanovski Pitbull. I think that's a better pairing.
Why is the question asking it differently?
Yeah, the question is asking McKee Volkanovski and then Holloway versus Pitbull. In that case, I'd probably side with both UFC guys maybe. But if you switched it a little bit, where it's McKee versus Holloway, a little more open, I think that's a winnable fight for either guy.
So you're not
I still
ready
like Volkanovski to beat Pitbull, but that's a close fight too.
True. So you're not ready to say you think McKee could beat everybody in the world at 145?
I think on the right night he probably could. I just feel like at 26, without having him really fully... When I say tested, he's tested in the sense that they lined up difficult opponents for him and he knocked them all down. He's somewhat untested, somewhat in the trench moments where you have seen Pitbull climb himself out of, Saturday notwithstanding. Yeah. You just don't know exactly when someone... Dude, here's the rule with MMA, and everyone gets behind someone and says, this is not true. I go through it with every generation of fan. Not saying you, but like the last one I had to deal with, this one was McGregor. Here's how this goes, folks. Eventually... Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not a year from now, maybe not even 2 years from now, although it could happen then. Someone is going to put it on AJ McKee. Someone is going to start hurting him in a fight, right? And the question is, what is he going to do about it? And I don't know what way he'll be hurt. Maybe it's to the legs, to the body, whatever. He'll get rocked, something. It happens in MMA every single time to every single fighter. Maybe Khabib would be the one guy who didn't get super rocked. But I don't know that we're talking about McKee with the same level of Khabib reverence. So the question is, what does he do when someone does that to him? And plus, Khabib physically controlled you. AJ McKee is happy to stand apart. I don't know what the answer is. He'll probably fucking shine, but we just don't know.
We kind of have to see him go 5 rounds first before we can comment on any of this, you know? I mean,
right, exactly.
So many of these fights have played to his strengths completely. So we do have to see. It's easy to look. You know me. I love flashy packaging. I love to put the cart before the horse, Luke. I love emotions, right? You know, and AJ's got me feeling those emotions, you know, deeper than I've ever felt before. But I got to put the pause on there and say, you know, you're telling me it's going to go 5 with Volkanovski. I still might pick the down under wonder. So there it is, Luke.
All right, from @Pinky Songha 08, who will be your next resume review victim?
6-0, Luke. 6-0, brother. Okay, what are you going to say about that? Okay, what do you wish we do? We go after COVID? Where are we going with this?
The COVID resume? That's a hell of a resume. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's any big one yet, because the problem is we've done, like, you could do one for Kamaru, I suppose, but it feels a little bit early, right? I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense.
People
Francis
want
still wouldn't make a lot of sense.
They want Dustin ahead of the Oliveira fight. That's what I've heard from the people.
The one that I have the sights set on is John Jones. That's the one that because
I knew you were still holding that 214 grudge.
No. By the way, someone on my live chat brought up some kind of quote that I had right around the time that he blew up all the plans for UFC 200. And someone was like, well, maybe this is what you said that pissed him off. I read it, and it was like, I said on the air, like, there's zero a chance I would apologize for any of this. So, no, dude, that bridge is burned. It's gone. It'll never come back. But this is the thing that folks lose about resume review. We're not doing it as like a prediction engine. Like, we don't put the names in and be like, oh, we're focusing on this guy because we think he'll win. It's not. Both of us picked Kamaru to beat Jorge, but we still did the resume review on Jorge. Why? Well, dude, his career story is just a lot more interesting. It is. The guy started fighting in the streets with Kimbo Slice, for fuck's sake, and he was kind of always that other dude until he goes on this journey in the woods, comes out, starts knocking everyone the fuck out in the most violent fashion, and yes, it didn't work out for him up until the point where we did the resume review for him, but we're trying to tell interesting stories through resumes that have been around for a while. Well, dude, John Jones has been kicking everyone's ass for a long while. This dude was on my radio show when he was still part of Team Bomb Squad in New York State back in 2008. I mean, we're talking 2021, and he's still a super relevant, if somewhat departed figure. Like, how would you not do a resume review on him? And whether you want to believe in some kind of magic and tooth fairy and whatever, you're allowed to do that, you or anybody else. But the reality is, and BC, for just 30 seconds of seriousness, we're trying to tell the stories of people who are on the precipice of great things that have interesting professional lives that deserve to be retold. I don't regret doing one for Pitbull at all. In fact, I'm quite glad we did, especially now that he's lost. At least there is this record that you can show someone of what he did.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think a Boo Boo Wild thing resume review might be a little more interesting than John at this point. But just so people know, we don't get together and go, which fighter do we like the least? Let's curse him. But Luke, it is getting to the point now at 6-0 where we have a responsibility, Luke. It's like, you're a gun owner, you got to keep that shit locked up. Like, we have a responsibility. Look, this is there's a dangerous thing we're playing with here. So
I don't think we have any control over it. I think the fighters do, but I will say this: there's no one that stands out to me right now. I can't think of an obvious candidate. Can you?
I won't let you do one on Rose. I'll tell you that right now. Okay. Not doing it, bro. Not doing it.
No, yeah, but John Jones is the big one. When he comes back, we're going to do one on John Jones for sure.
But so we've done 6, and the favorite, we've done 6 of them, 3 times on the underdog, 3 times on the favorite, which is interesting.
It's interesting, yeah. I will say that part is interesting. The other thing is we got to do one on Amanda Nunes at some point too, BC. We haven't done one on any kind of women fighters yet. The other thing we could do, though, is if to make people happy, we could do one on like a fighter that's already retired, like a Ronda Rousey or something, Yeah,
well, then you're going to kill him, Luke. I mean, there's nothing left to lose at that point.
It'll be like Final Destination.
I mean, it would be, okay, every time we do one now, whether you want to talk about the curse or not, Luke, and I know you don't, We are putting the curse.
Hold on.
Okay, no. Just bite your tongue. We know what you're going to say. We get it.
It's not even about that. I don't even know what to say. I don't know what to say about it. I honestly don't know what to say because it's obviously ridiculous. Like, you guys want me to discuss Santa Claus with you? I can't do that.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, like, every time we do one now at this point, since it's 6-0, we are testing it. We are challenging it. Could you freaking imagine if we did Amanda Nunes ahead of anything short of Shevchenko, right? If we did it in the Pena fight or GDR or whatever, and then she lost, Luke. I'm sorry, Luke. You would have to come out and be like, guys, it's more powerful than I thought it was. Like I am like, it's like they were when we filmed it. It was a Mugwai. Now it's a Gremlin, bro. Like, what are we gonna do, right?
Right, but the opposite would be if we did one on Amanda and she broke it. They'd be like, oh, of course Amanda's the one to break it. But then if we did another one on someone else who has a lesser status than literally the greatest women's fighter ever, they would say it's back on. Like, the only way to beat it, so to speak, at least to beat the perception, I should say, would be for it to go relatively even over time, which I suspect over time it will. It's just going to take a little while. All right. I don't even get this next question at all. At Drink Hot Tea With Me, does LT like watching old guys competing at the Olympics in weightlifting to keep his dreams of becoming an Olympian at an elder age alive? BC, I don't know who the fuck he's talking about. There's no one old weightlifting at the Olympics who's a dude. Who the fuck would that be?
I don't know, Luke.
They're all in their 20s and early 30s.
I haven't been watching much Olympics this round, Luke. You know? I don't know.
When you usually watch the Olympics, what do you watch?
Well,
what's your go-to?
Okay, the best events are this, in my mind: sprinting and track and field, without question. All right?
100%, I agree.
Number 2, and my wife pushes me into it, but then I get hooked. I'm sorry, female gymnastics is exciting as balls. It is what it is, Luke. I like it. And elite swimming, right? I mean, elite swimming is incredible. Those are my 3. In the past, I've been a monster Team USA men's basketball fan. I've kind of lost a little bit of interest in that, but that's my core, Luke. What else are you moved by?
Wrestling is big. Obviously, wrestling is big. I like judo, but I don't like the rules all that much, which kind of make it not as good as it could be. But the weightlifting is big. I think what he's talking about is I've posted pictures of an old dude, not pictures, videos, of an old dude by the name of Randy Kudlub, who is the co-founder of Kabuki Strength. They make a lot of different kinds of unique equipment and whatnot. He's 72, and he did some powerlifting recently. But, that was like not on a grand stage like the fucking Olympics. The Olympics, dude, the oldest competitor I can think of at the Olympics on the male side who did anything is Liu Xiaojun, who is maybe one of the best to ever do it in any weight class. He got gold, and he's 37, but he's fucking super bricked up. That's as old as it gets, dude. And even that is fucking rare. 37 is very old for weightlifting at an elite level. So this dude is obviously just very confused because there are no old dudes lifting in the Olympics at all.
There's as much consummation in the Olympic Village this time around due to the COVID scare as normal?
Yeah, no one's actually... I'm guessing no one's actually getting COVID, but they're getting all kinds of gonorrhea. Gonorrhea, like the truly Fauci's first undefeated plague.
Yeah.
All right. Last but not least, from Taekwondo Dude Memes. That's his name. If you could wake up in the world of any TV show, which show would you want to live in? Fuck me.
Does the Emmanuel series count on Showtime back in the day, Luke, or what? I mean,
does Bang Bus count?
Yeah. I mean,
I don't want to live on a TV show, bro.
I mean, all the best TV shows involve like drama and violence.
Murder,
I don't really want to live in that, Luke. Right?
Would you want to live in a sitcom?
I mean, can I be a part of the Seaver family on Growing Pains? I don't know.
You know what? I would be a part of the 90210 that Tiffany Amber Thiessen was on.
There it is. You nailed it. I wanted to be part of that friend circle big time, Luke. And I would have exposed Brian A. Green, or B.A. Green, Brian Austin Green, as what was his character's name? David Silver. I would expose him as an absolute, like, weirdo. I know he got cool and he started banging Donna and he was like the school DJ and he could sing and dance. Yo, he was a nerd, bro. And I remember it because I watched episode 1 from back in the day. He used to hang out with that blonde kid that shot himself, Luke. Yo, I would have exposed B.A. Green right away and challenged him to fight on the first day of school. No question about it.
I just want to put a knife between the 6th and 7th floating rib right through the lung so he can't scream when I knife him from behind.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Okay. Yeah, but you picked the right year when Valerie Malone arrived, Luke. Boners, bro. You know.
Apex predator. Yeah. Apex predator is what I would say. All right, BC, we go from discussing AJ McKee's win to our childhood lusty fantasies of Tiffany Amber Thiessen. With that in mind, why don't you take away the silly portion of today's show?
All right, what we do every Monday, it's really the highest rated segment in really the internet's history. We scour the globe for the good, the bad, the ugly, the highs and lows, and in between, from combat sports and beyond. And this is a great batch of shit this week, Luke. It's have you seen this shit? Yes.
Let's talk about Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is the best and easiest way to play season-long best ball. Play more fantasy football without spending all that time on waivers and lineups and trades. Just go to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the app. Draft a season-long best ball team, and that's it. No in-season management. And you can take a shot at a $1 million grand prize in their Best Ball Mania tournament. And how about this? You can get a free $25 in bonus cash on Underdog Fantasy if you use the code CBS when you make your first deposit. I love Underdog. It is so easy to use. The mobile app is slick. The website is user-friendly. So do what I've been doing. Go to Underdog Fantasy, join a league, draft a team, and that's it. You're good for the season. Remember, go to UnderdogFantasy.com or the App Store or the Google Play Store, sign up with the code CBS, and get a free $25 in bonus cash. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code CBS.
Welcome to the Nothing Personal with David Sampson podcast. The Major League Baseball season is flying by, and the postseason is on the horizon. And that means NFL season is about to be here too. Let NPDS be your guide through all the smoke screens, all the BS the sports world throws at you. Every weekday, 5 days a week. You will find an honesty about the sports world you won't find anywhere else. You can download and follow us on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, or wherever else you find your podcasts. Remember, here, it's just business. It's nothing personal.
Oh, God. Oh, Luke, you didn't do that this time. Oh.
Oh, God, I got the fart needles.
Oh, God. All right, Bellator 263.
Never mind what I'm getting. Go ahead, sorry.
Los Angeles. I think we actually ran this vid earlier, so it's a little redundant, but here's AJ McKee celebrating with that bubbly, Luke. You deserve it, kid, all right? Looking good there.
That's me after 5 minutes on Perv City.
5 minutes, really? Luke, no 50 Cent this time.
Sorry, I lied. 30 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. Please. No 50 Cent this time to hand out the champagne. I don't know what happened there. Maybe we had a falling out. Let's keep it rolling from 263. Khabib's husband, Usman Nurmagomedov. Look at this jackknife knee to the body of Manny Moro. Look, he's nasty, bro.
He looked good, dude. He looked really good. His takedowns were slick. He was in complete control. Now, granted, this opponent was a nice kid, but he's very overmatched. Nurmagomedov was supposed to look good, but I'm telling you, man, this guy, I'd be very surprised if he's not wearing Bellator gold at some point.
He's going to be wearing a Bellator gold. Khabib was 4-0 on Saturday. Another one of his proteges, Gadzi Rabadanov. Luke, he sent Daniel Carey.
Look at this left hook. I mean, perfectly timed.
Smash, Jesus. Indeed. Look, that Smesh factory is just working all night, churning out new daggies here.
Watch this, man. Watch this. This guy sets it up, and he just times it perfectly.
Oh, God. Dude,
One-hitter quitter. Boom. Watch the head go. Bop. There. Oh, man, that's a nice shot.
That's some brilliant shit. Let's go over to UFC Fight Night in Vegas. Luke, unfortunately, on Friday, inaugural flyweight champ Nico Montano was trying to weigh in for her bantamweight bout at 135. Luke, she came in at 143, and the fight got scrapped. Luke, I kind of wonder if this is the end, right?
You know what? Here's what I'll say about Nico. I've interviewed her a few times. I do think genuinely she's a nice person. I do think genuinely she cares. I think she's had a hard life. I think she's had a really hard past few years, no doubt about it. The thing that got me was afterwards she put out a statement. You know, because if you come in 7 over, you know as well as I do, BC. You come in 1 over, hey, that happens. You come in 2, maybe 3 over. You could have been more disciplined. Maybe it was short notice, whatever. You come in 7 over, where you're almost at the next weight class, you either have an injury that you didn't disclose or something went terribly wrong in the whole process. So she put out a statement later, and it was rather lengthy, but one of the things she was saying was because of all the harm she's done from weight cutting and blah, 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 it's just harder for her metabolic rate to be in a position where she can keep the weight off of her, even though she's eating a lot less. And I'm like, here's the thing for me, man. It's like if someone was telling me I couldn't do this show anymore or even MMA stuff anymore and I had to go figure something out, that would be very, very hard for me. Like I don't know what I would do, quite frankly. I mean, I'd figure it out, but I'm sure it'd be extremely difficult. So I don't want to be the guy, but like, you should go do something else. At the same time, if this was my sister, and I'm trying to think about it like that, like somebody I cared about a lot, and she was telling me that her ability to... like she couldn't even eat food and lose the weight because her metabolism was so wrecked from years of weight cutting, whatever else. I would tell her to stop jeopardizing her health. I would say that I don't, or move up a weight class or something. Because, dude, she used to fight at 125. She got, for a 135.5, she weighed 143.
Yeah,
something is terribly
I don't want to pile
wrong.
on, Luke, because I always felt she got a raw deal. I never even thought that title should have been created at that time, nor used the tough model system, and then they stripped her, you know, where it didn't make sense. Luke, do you remember when they originally were going to book Nico against Shevchenko, and Shevchenko was like a minus, 86,000 favorite? I mean, that would have been bad. That would have been very bad.
That would have been ugly.
All right, let's keep it going, UFC. Hey, Luke, Coach Edmond has another Armenian hammer. His name is Melsik Bagdasaryan. And look at this head kick in his UFC debut against Colin Anglin. Hell of a finish here.
This kid looked good. The only criticism I would have, and it's very mild, I want to point that out, it's very mild. He throws everything with evil intention, which is fine at the stage of the career that he's in. But against the better guys, that won't be enough to put him away. And so you have to have a second and third level where you got the cardio to last and everything else. He's still working it out, no problem. He was unbelievable that night. But to get to the next level, which he's got all the talent to do, some change is going to have to be in order. But that night, he was unbeatable.
Good head movement, too. Absolutely. Look, your brethren shining on this one. Let's go over to Jared Gordon in the welterweight division. You see this right-hand KO of Niklas Stoles.
Ooh. Took the angle and then set it up right with a straight down the pike. That was beautiful.
That was face
You see how he stepped out?
You like this guy, Luke?
I like this. Watch, he steps out. Let's see. Bop. Oh, just double jabbed his way to the outside and then fired the right hand home. Yeah, that was really nice. I like guys who can set stuff up, man. I think they're the ones who are built for the long haul.
And Luke, somebody we're going to be talking about a lot on this show because I think she's my new favorite fighter. Strawweight Cheyenne Bays had a hell of a vicious finish in the co-main event after about 18 fights got canceled, Luke, against Gloria DePaula. Look at that, Luke.
Dude, I said it on Twitter. This was a mean stoppage. When you're elbowing someone from mount, you know what I mean? Like, dude, that is fuck.
Look, she's a mean fighter. Look, let's be honest. I mean, we'll get into the fighter pay stuff later where she had a lot to fight for here, but that's some brutal ish. And then after the finish, let's check out the celebration dance, Luke. Can you give style points on this? Oh, yeah.
Money. Yeah. In the club. Dude, you know what's amazing about this fight is she hits her with the kick as she's getting up and then pushes her down and moves to mount and then elbows her. It looked like a schoolyard fight. I mean, it wasn't. I don't mean to say that they don't have more like capability than that. It just played out that way where it almost looked like they were battling in a parking lot. And Jesus, Bays was, I mean, she couldn't be beat that night.
You may remember Bays, not only the husband of JP Bays, who's a UFC fighter, but Luke, do you remember when Bays beat Montserrat Cornejo Ruiz and told her that she would meet her in the parking lot or she'd follow her home afterwards?
I think she meant it.
She was asked about that this week at the press conference. Let's go to the audio here.
Fuck her, but, on to the next one.
I think we're all curious. Did you, in fact, follow that bitch home?
Frustrated with how that one went. Best part of the fight.
Oh, man, the staff was on my ass as soon as I left that cage. The thing that was disgusting was obviously the girl spat at me and called me a effing puta, but not even our coaches shook my hand or my coach's hand. They're all cowards in my eyes for the night, and I still think so. And no, I did not get to follow her, but when I see her, she better step up.
Do you like it? I guess maybe not among casual fans, but among hardcores, that's a pretty well-quoted line. It's become a little bit famous. Do you like that that's a part of your reputation, or do you think, oh, I wish I wouldn't have said that?
Not at all. I'm real. I'm 100% real. I'm human. If you're going to disrespect me like that when I gave you nothing but respect, you bet your ass I want to slap the shit out of you after the fight. What pisses me off the most is you shook my hand at weigh-ins knowing damn well what you were going to do after the fight. That right there has coward written all over it.
Biatch? Wow, Luke.
Damn, bro.
Shout out to John Morgan for asking the hard questions there, but Luke, she's pretty real. She's pretty real, dude.
Boy, you better show up with flowers on Valentine's Day. Good Lord.
Yeah, she brought it right there. More on
Jesus.
her to come because it was an interesting story here. Let's go to outdoor MMA, Luke. The promotion is called Strelka Street Fights, and this is literally pounding sand, Luke.
Dude, hands down, eats a head kick from hell, and then just flops back. He testified in church.
Yeah,
see that?
This is what happens if you get the 30 days free of Showtime and you don't like it. Okay, this is what happens, Luke. All
Listen,
right?
maybe he was just feeling the gospel of the Holy Ghost, BC.
It's possible. All right, let's go to the Olympic Games in Tokyo. Judoka Martina Trajdos of Germany getting fired up by her coach before this event, Luke. What kind of... To quote
Dude.
Chris Rock, I'll never hit a girl, but I'll shake the shit out of her, Luke, right?
Let me tell you something. Those judo gis are super thick. You can probably shake the shit out of someone that way. And, listen, a little bit of pop like that, hey, that's good stuff.
That's assault, brother. Wow. Let's keep it going here. Olympic boxing light heavyweight Imam Katayev of Russia. Oh, look at that, Luke.
I didn't see that one.
Made him do the stanky leg, and then he...
To the dude from Spain? Poor bastard.
Yikes. All right, let's go over to Moroccan boxer Younes Bala. Luke, he's going all Tyson Holyfield on him right here. Take a bite out of crime.
Wow. Maybe he was just hungry. Maybe he needed a Snickers. I don't know.
Yeah. You see AJ McKee trying to get that Snickers sponsorship?
He was trying. That was that was the one miss. He was like, Snickers, are you not satisfied? I'm like, I know you planned that in the mirror, AJ, and I don't know if it's going to work. I hope it does work for him, but if it doesn't, I'm going to call him on it.
Luke, this may not be the same era as the Dream Team running circles around Angola, but check out Drew Holiday here of Team USA, schoolballing this guy right through the wickets.
Man. Yeah, people don't understand what it was like when the Dream Team was there. It was like, honestly, the Globetrotters versus the Washington Senators, whatever they're called. But every once in a while, you'll get a good moment here on the international scene.
Eddie Hearn resurrected his fight camp at Matchroom Sport headquarters, Luke, outside of London on Saturday. And your boy Avni Yildirim, fresh off the Canelo loss, got carved up by Jack Cullen. Luke, this was a super middleweight title eliminator. Cullen beat the bags off of him for 12 rounds with that speedy jab. Luke, do you know Cullen's nickname? Little Lever's Meat Cleaver. That's his nickname. I post this on here to expose the ridiculousness of boxing's mandatory system. Your boy Avni, Luke, is fading away pretty quickly here.
Nice win.
Yeah. All right, let's keep it rolling here. Elite Fighters 1 in Poland. Luke, this was a bizarre MMA event in which Grabaka Hitman was all over it. Luke, they had a 3-on-1 match, and it went exactly how you would guess it would, Luke. Poor bastard here.
So does he become a member of the Bloods or Crips after this?
Yeah, this is the initiation, Luke. This is very similar to your frat boy pledge night, I'm sure. But why, Luke? Why?
Are they all going to bang now?
Also on this card, Luke, check out this pre-fight dance by this Polish fighter. You into this?
I saw this. And I was thinking about this. My wife watches Love Island, and my only hope for my daughter is that she just doesn't do this.
Luke.
Yeah, that's it.
Luke, keep her off the
I was
pole,
thinking to myself,
please.
I'm like, I hope my daughter does not have to be on the Scripps National Spelling Bee or be an Olympian or anything like that. Just don't do that.
Yeah,
Just
don't
do that.
go to the poll. Oh, wow. Manich saying Love Island UK is severely underrated. He's got a lot of time on his hands. All right,
Yeah.
one championship.
Maybe less Love Island UK, more books there. Manich.
One championship battleground, Luke. Did you see the Burmese python Ong La In Song? You know our boy, the New Year's guy, sending Leandro Ateides.
Old Lang Syne here will fucking put hands on you. That dude is very, very good. Is he the best light heavyweight on earth? No.
Yeah,
but he's good.
It's a new year indeed. New day? All right, Luke, let's go over to former Cuban Olympic wrestler Gustavo Ballart with the flying groin strike on Ryoto Dragon Boy Sawada. Luke, this was men's strawweight. I thought at first it was like small people wrestling, but Luke, it's men's strawweight. Will this pick up and the UFC get involved? What do you think?
There are smaller weight classes. There's also women's atom weight, which is 105. I don't know that there's going to be a big market for it outside of Latin America or Asia, but who knows?
Yeah, Dana's not employing these guys anytime soon. All right, summer concert season is heating up, Luke. Here's Jorge Masvidal appearing at a Steve Aoki show and throwing some cake at the fans. Luke, what the heck is this about?
COVID?
Yeah, more or less, Luke. Okay, Aoki's what, a famous DJ of some rave kind?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I think I've seen his name circulated in that way.
All right, Luke, speaking of COVID, Greater Chicago area had a super spreader event called Lollapalooza. That's Fred Durst dressed up as Kenny Rogers, Luke. And did you see this Limp Bizkit show? Can we zoom in on that, please, Manich? Look at the friggin' crowd, Luke. Wow. This is why we can't have nice things in this country.
I'm so glad I'm old.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not glad that I'm old, but I'm glad that, like, I don't have peers pressuring me to go to this shit. Because I probably would have done it, you know?
How many masks do you think were there, Luke? How many masks?
Huh?
You think there were any masks in that crowd?
Only for robberies.
Okay. All right. That crowd was on fire, Luke. And speaking of, let's go over to the soccer pitch. What the hell's going on here, Luke?
So I've not seen this, but is there a Turkish team playing?
I have no idea. I'm a little nervous about it. What the? I mean, this doesn't look safe, Luke. Is there any survivors?
No, it's not, dude. I don't know if these are the Turks or somebody else. I'll just say this: for folks who don't know, the Turkish super fans are famous for lighting shit on fire and flares at the game and whatnot. Like, that is what... Dude, did I ever tell you that I saw a rivalry in Turkey? This is true, bro. It was Galatasaray versus Fenerbahce, which is like maybe the biggest one in all of Turkish soccer. And I saw a dude chasing another dude with a doner kebab sword. You know what a doner kebab sword is? You ever seen those, like, at the fair, those racks of lamb that turn and they shave it and it comes down and they put it in the pita and then they serve it to you?
Yeah,
but it's like that. It's like that long or something. That motherfucker had it by the handle and was chasing another guy with it for, you know, having the audacity to be the fan of a rival team. They don't fucking play over in Istanbul, boy. Let me tell you.
I once saw a guy with one arm beat up a guy with one leg at a Dave Matthews concert, Luke, on the lawn at the Meadows in Hartford. It was it was pretty legendary. All right, Luke, let's go PBC on Fox from Newark. This had to be one of the worst Fox cards ever, Luke. But in the main event, Michael Coffey, the heavyweight prospect and former Marine, Luke, he got lit up by late replacement Johnny Rice, a 13-6 record. Yet Johnny Rice sent old Coffey to hell here, Luke.
Yeah, Coffey, I was checking him out on Instagram ahead of this fight, you know, thinking he was just going to walk through. Dude, he got tore up the entire time. He didn't get stopped in the way that, like, you know, he got flatlined or anything, but by the time it happened, I wasn't opposed to it. Semper Fi, but that's a bad loss.
Yeah, on the undercard, former lightweight prospect Carl Dargan came back after a long layoff. Look at this uppercut KO on Ivan Delgado here. Dargan has his back to the road. Look at that. Whew.
Man. That's like that uppercut that, that Tank Davis hit on Leo Santa Cruz.
Yeah, Dargan, of course, Luke, married to rapper Lil Mo. I don't know if you know that.
No, I don't know who that is.
Okay. Let's keep it rolling here, Luke. This is from last week. We got to play the audio. At BKFC, Hector Lombard confronted Tyron Woodley for violation of the bro code. Let's go to this.
You support me? No. Face to face, like a fucking lady, like I am. Remember when trying to fuck my sidekick. Remember? Right? That's fucking wrong. No, that's fucking wrong. Well, I want to smoke. I want to finish the business. How you want to do it? How you want to do it? David, we got to do this or no? Hey, I told you.
Yeah, Dave Feldman, get in there. Luke, to quote Showtime's
So Hector
Brendan
Lombard
Schaub, yeah?
is accusing him of trying to fuck his side chick?
All I
we
know
have
is to
double audio, Manish.
Yeah,
There we go.
There we go. That's not embarrassing at all, that double audio. All right, Luke, to quote Brendan Schaub, that's not how Eskimo brothers should treat each other, Luke. Seriously.
Yeah, I don't know what the story is there. I mean, I don't really want to get into people's personal business about who they're fucking in this world, so, like, I don't,
How about we just make fun of people's weightlifting form, Luke? Let's go over to heavyweight champion Tyson Fury. Is this good or bad? I couldn't figure it out, so I figured I'd ask you, Luke.
It's not great, but it's hard to tell. I can't quite. His back is rounding like a son of a bitch. It looks like he's doing like Romanian deadlifts, which a little more straight leg. I can't quite tell.
Okay.
It's it's not great, but he might not have that much weight on there. I don't know.
Luke, we always say in regional MMA, anything can happen. Even a rainstorm, Luke. Check out these two fighters having to deal with the slickness here.
I saw this one live.
Oh, my God. What is happening?
Dude, yeah, keep having outdoor MMA doofuses.
All right, let's go over to the pizza parlor, Luke. You never know when a great fight can break out. Watch this, dude.
This one was great. They got this reminds me of the dudes in Turkey with the doner kebab swords.
Yes.
They got the little shovel that comes with the handle for the pizza.
You think that was over a girl, Luke?
No, I guarantee you this was over like, hey, there it is. Get that sword. Get that fucking thing. Bah, bah, bah. Let me explain something to you.
No anchovies. Yes.
There was a story. I remember. I think it was the McDonald's on West 4th, which is right by these basketball courts in the in Greenwich Village in NYC. I remember there was someone who like I could have the address wrong, but there was somebody who like was like bitching at the McDonald's employees, then jumped the register. And one of the dudes, he was definitely excessive. He took out this thing that looked like a wavy sword that must have been for like God knows what. And he began to hit this woman with it. And like there were other women being like, stop, stop. You can hear it. I'm not saying he wasn't excessive with it, but I also have a rule. Let me explain something to you. If I'm working minimum wage at fucking McDonald's and you jump the cash register because you don't like the customer service, I'm going to bang you over the head with every fucking metal object I can find. I don't give a shit who you are. Fuck
it's like,
those
call me
people,
whatever you want, but you come onto the palace floor, Jermaine O'Neal's going to knock you the hell out.
100%.
Okay?
If you want that smoke, don't listen. If you try to piss somebody off and scare them, do not be surprised when you succeed. When that lady got beat, he laid it into her a little too much. But like as a general rule, don't come over the counter. Don't do it.
Luke, it's Rate That Tat time. This isn't Mr. Hebos, but Jessica Rose Clark had her image. Somebody wanted a tattoo of her on their thigh. Luke, your thoughts?
It's actually pretty good. I mean, my vision is not clear. So Jessica Rose, yeah, that's good. That's actually very good. It's a little dark, but that's because it's new. So when it heals, it will lighten up a little bit. And obviously, the nature of the photograph on the leg is going to make it hard to duplicate. But Jessica Rose Clark she's like a real tattoo enthusiast. She's got some really good ones. She does a lot of American traditional stuff. And she's part of this brand called Notorious Bastards, who are kind of really into artsy sort of style of tattoos. You know, the face tattoo is not a personal choice that I would make, but that's a decent tattoo right there.
All right. Hey, let's go over to the amateur wrestling mats, Luke. There's two guys wrestling here, and one of them is rock hard with emotion. Luke, what do you call this move? Fellatio?
Yeah, a blowjob. I mean, I'm not sure what you want me to call it. They fucking.
Wow. Is that a north-south, Luke? I don't know. I mean, what is going on here? Wow. Okay. Yikes. All right. Luke, I got one more for you. We were able to get into the DeLorean and head to the future. This is Luke Thomas in 10 years.
First of all, he's not nearly fat enough. Although, God bless this man. You know what this guy's like? Free fun.
Lunch with
Free
a view,
fun.
Luke. Yes, yes.
I mean,
all
can you
right.
blame him? Look at these women.
He's like, let me get a slice with an LBB, please. Big
Look at that.
BBL. Sorry, BBL
Dude,
on the
wouldn't
side.
you want to stare? I mean, this guy's, No, dude, first of all, that's you with the dyed hair, number one.
Oh, come on. Come on. I'm staying gray, Luke. Stay gray, okay? There we go. All right, that's the shit for the week. That's all I got, Luke. All right, that's it.
All right, with that in mind, let's go back to odds and ends, BC. What do you have for odds and or ends?
Yeah, look, this was an emotional win for Cheyenne Bays. I want to play a couple clips here and talk about this quick and bring this story to light. This was her reaction to getting the $50,000 bonus, Luke, from her victory, which was bumped up to the co-main event. We talk about fighter pay and how much it costs for these fighters to even try to train and live. This is an interesting turn of events. Let's go to that, Manich.
I am negative in my account right now, so it's going to make a big difference. And my whole paycheck actually is I have to pay back $15,000 for a loan I got from a few people. So, I made 10 and 10 from my win and show, so that $20,000 was just gone. So, and I was okay with it. I was okay if I won and that check was gone, because I made the move out here, and I knew that this fight was just going to be for the move, but it was the best decision me and my husband made for our careers, and just to get that bonus. I've been so broke my whole life because of this sport, but it's so worth it to me because I love this sport. But to get a $50,000 paycheck, my husband's going to tell me to put it away. I'm definitely going to want to buy some nice stuff, but I like to buy a little bit of things for the house and for my animals. I really like to spoil my family, but this week I'm definitely taking my team to go get a nice dinner. So it's life-changing for sure, but I just, got to put the money away and just go out there and fight again.
And Luke, here's a video of her actual reaction to finding out in the locker room from her husband that she had gotten the $50K for that victory.
You got performance of the night.
Yeah! Let's go! Let's go! Hey, Shy. Congrats, Shy. You deserve it. Hey, Spirit Rhinos. Not a girl.
So, Luke,
That's tough,
we talk
man.
a lot
That's
about
tough.
fighter pay, and a lot of times our discussion is centered upon, like, John Jones, right? Like, is it enough for him to make, $1.5 million in a fight, or should, given his history and where he stands all time and his star power, he should probably be making 4, 5, 6, 7 million, whatever. Or, hey, Conor McGregor, I bet you he made 40 million as opposed to the 3 that got reported. Luke, this is the real fighter pay story right here. I know that this card kind of fell apart and had fights fall out, and, UFC didn't intend Cheyenne Bays to be in the co-main event. She got paid 10 and 10, and she was like literally risking it all and said, I went in there ready to die in that cage if I had to, because I love the sport and I'm in the negative, and it cost more to do the training camp than I was going to get paid even if I won. I mean, Luke, that's the real fighter pay issue right there. That a fight of the night could literally change her life. That's what I want to see cleaned up in the sport. I mean, if it was the first fight of the night, look, you look at the payouts in a boxing match, God, guys in the first fight of the night off TV are getting paid like $2,000. That's not any different.
If that.
But this is somebody on, national TV or on ESPN Plus in a co-main event. They're getting paid 10 and 10. Luke, I mean, you can bring out John S. Nash all you want. If Dana's going to give a bag of cash and not report it to the IRS, this is the